Have you ever heard the saying that lightning never strikes twice? You have, huh? And did you believe it? Well, in my case, it only needed to strike once, and it made sure to leave a lasting impression. One minute there I was enjoying a perfectly ordinary afternoon in my house here in Indonesia, yeah. And the next, boom! A thunderclap so loud it rattled the walls and zapped every electronic device I owned. Television gone. Lights dark. Even the UPS didn't stand a chance. The UPS, that's the uninterruptible power supply. It protects my computer, and I was worried. I was very worried. Now, here's the really weird part. None of my neighbors lost a thing. Just me. Can you believe that? I'm Kate, an introvert expat living in Indonesia, making videos to encourage people to live their best lives. If you've ever dreamed of living overseas, or maybe you're already living the expat life, this is one of those unexpected wake-up calls. Yeah. This reminds you that life abroad can come with some very wild plot twists. Let me tell you what happened and how I rebuilt my digital life piece by piece, one at a time. It was a typical rainy day during the rainy season when thunderstorms roll in with dramatic flair and they roll out just as quickly, usually leaving nothing more than some soaked plants and a pleasant drop in temperature. Yeah, so I like it. The thunder is generally a pretty loud rolling sound, maybe like God is bowling up there in the heavens. It's not something to be afraid of. But this storm, oh, this one had different plans. There hadn't been any serious thunder during this particular storm, and there wasn't a hint that I should unplug everything. But then all of a sudden, without a warning, the loudest, most violent crack of thunder I've ever heard in my life. It wasn't just a sound, it was a shock wave. It seemed like a bomb had gone off. That's how close and intense it felt. The lights went out immediately, of course. But the strange thing was that I could see lights on at the homes of my neighbors. My home was the only dark place. And what I didn't know yet was that this thunderclap had been no ordinary stormy drama. While my neighbors' homes were completely unaffected, and the power company eventually confirmed that the main grid had no outages, I came to realize that my house had evidently been hit or come extremely close to a lightning strike. I have 2 lightning rods on the roof of my house, but they must have been taking a coffee break. And unfortunately for me, nearly every electronic device I owned was plugged in at the time. They weren't on, but being plugged in made them victims. The damage wasn't immediately clear. I thought it was just the usual, the way the electricity sometimes goes off. And the power did come back on later. I flipped the light switch, expecting the normal, but that's not what happened. Some of the lights came on, but many stayed dark. Strange, right? Only later would I find out that some of the wiring had gotten fried. Not all of it, just some. Next, my computer wouldn't turn on. It turned out that my UPS, that faithful, uninterruptible power supply that protects my desktop computer, had died, had been fried, not died, just fried. But it had done its job and saved my desktop computer. So then I tried to turn on the TV. Nope, completely dead. I didn't discover all the damage that had been done yet. It was only weeks later that I learned my sewing machine was toast. It hadn't been turned on, but yeah, it was plugged in, and that was enough to burn it to bits. When I took it in for repair, I got the bad news that the electronics inside had been totally fried and couldn't be repaired or replaced. I'd never experienced anything like that horrendous clap of thunder. I mean, power surges happen and thunder happens, but this was something else entirely. Now, here's the strange part. As I already mentioned, not a single other house on my street had an issue. No blown routers, no dead computers, not even a flicker on their TV sets. Whatever happened that day, well, it was uniquely targeted to me. It was like nature reached down and tapped just my roof with an electric finger. At first, I was just in shock. When you lose all your digital lifelines at once, your internet access, your computer, your files, your backup systems, it feels like the modern version of losing your passport, wallet, and keys all at the same time. I had no way to work, no way to connect with friends, no way to upload YouTube content or access the outlines I'd been drafting for my course on Expat Life. Have you ever had that sinking feeling when you realize how dependent you are on your devices? I always thought I had a good balance between modern technology and more antiquated habits like writing by hand. Yeah, I actually write notes to myself by hand. But this forced disconnection made it very clear that most of my daily systems involving communication and creativity rely on electricity and electronics. I also had to confront the expense. One by one, I replaced what I could. A friend even gave me a television that she wasn't using. But the first thing I replaced myself was the UPS. After it saved my desktop computer, I really recognized its immense value. Still, the biggest takeaway from this experience wasn't about all my gadgets. It was about personal vulnerability. Nature has a way of reminding us that we're not as in control as we like to think. That night, thunder didn't just knock out my devices. It zapped me out of a comfort zone. It made me pause and ask myself, do I have backups on everything? Do I need all the things I think I need? What really matters in a digital life when the power is out? I now unplug everything when a threatening storm rolls in. Well, maybe not everything, and not for every storm, just when it's a real threatening storm. I even have a little checklist now. Router, computer, chargers, fans. Would you have reacted the same way? Would a tech wipeout like this make you reevaluate what you rely on every day? I also think about how grateful I am that no one was hurt. The dogs were scared but fine. The house didn't catch fire. And as frustrating as the aftermath was, gave me a new kind of resilience. I know now I can recover from an electronics purge. I know I can work through delays and hiccups and power cuts without falling apart. Living in Indonesia, you learn pretty quickly that flexibility isn't optional. It's a survival tool. Same with patience. You have to be patient. Things won't always go as planned. Roads will flood. Thunderstorms will arrive with no warning, and occasionally, lightning might choose your house for its one-night show. But still, life goes on. That night I lit candles, and I listened to the sound of the rain. I sat in the quiet and thought about how lucky I am to live in a place where the pace is slower, where people are kind, and where even thunder can teach you a life lesson. So if you ever decide to live overseas, especially in tropical places, remember this: uninterruptible power supplies are your friends. Backups are essential. And storms don't care how much your tech costs. What matters is how you handle the reset. Because sometimes a forced reboot is exactly what we need. Have you had a similar experience? Please leave a comment below and share how you dealt with it. Bye for now. See you next time.